Hey guys, it's Ben again from The Better Gentleman, and this week we are unboxing the Aukey EP-T21 True Wireless Earbuds. And as always, this is not a sponsored review, and I paid for these out of my own pocket. And if you guys are interested in truly honest and non-sponsored reviews, please consider subscribing. But anyways, let's get right into it. Alright, so here we got our earbuds, and underneath this little section we have our ear tips and our charging cable. And something cool that Aukey includes with some of their devices is this little decal of a key. If you pull it out, you can see this is what it looks like. And a lot of people like to put these on their computers, or I've seen some people put like some decals on their cars, like with the Apple stuff. So if you're into that kind of stuff, they have included it inside this box. I am not, so I'm just gonna put this back. But anyways, we also have a quick start guide and a user manual inside the box. And this is what the case looks like. It's not too bad in size, and just for a better visual representation, here are the Galaxy Buds and the Airpods, so hopefully that gives you guys a better idea of the size. It is quite thick, but not too bad if you ask me. And the case itself is pretty minimalistic, nothing but the branding on the top and some certifications on the bottom, and you have a micro USB slot in the back. Alright, and here we have our wireless earbuds. So again, not too bad in size, very minimalistic. And these do have a clear plastic film on them that you'll have to take off the first time. And underneath this little plastic film, you have your two charging connectors, as well as an indicator to tell you which side is which. And there also seems to be a magnet, which will pull these into place. Actually, a really nice magnet. And you have these little indicators to let you know that these buds are charging. Alright guys, so here we have everything laid out. We have a very tiny micro USB cable. You might want to get a slightly bigger one for charging. We have our earbuds. We have the charging case. It does have a very nice magnetic closure on it. Then we have our adjustable ear tips. We have this decal, we have a user manual, and we have a quick start guide. Alright guys, and to pair these up, all we have to do is take them out of the case, and you'll see that the light will start blinking on one of them, and that'll let you know that it's in pairing mode. And just an FYI, it is a green light, not a blue light that flashes. And while the light is flashing, all we're going to do is we are going to go to our Bluetooth menu. We're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and we'll see them pop up as the Aukey EP-T21s. And there we go. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and test these guys out for a little bit, and in the meantime I'll throw up some quick specs for you. Alright guys, I'm actually using the headset right now to record this part of the video, just so you have an idea of what the mic quality is like on these. And I did notice that the case does have a charging indicator. However, it doesn't really tell you how much of a charge the case has. Basically, if these lights are on, that means that the case is charging. And once they turn off, that means that your case is full. And while this is helpful, unfortunately, the case doesn't give you any more information. For example, these indicators will not tell you how much of a charge the headphones have, and actually it won't even tell you how much of a charge the case has unless it's plugged in. I don't know how big of a deal that's going to be to you guys out there, but that is definitely something I put into consideration whenever I make purchases, because I would like to know how much of a charge my case has. Alright guys, I'm actually still doing a microphone test right now for these, and right now I'm like, crunching some paper in the background, just to kind of get an idea of how much extra noise this microphone picks up. Alright guys, and so that was the microphone test, and I think I've actually gone ahead and tested everything on these. And the last thing I wanted to test was the water resistance, and it's the last thing I test because, well, we don't know how things are going to go. And so this is rated as IPX4. The X means it is not tested against dust resistance, and the 4 means that it is splash proof, or should be splash proof. And on Aukey's page, they actually go ahead and say that these are meant to be sweat resistant. These aren't supposed to be subjected to anything other than that. But we're going to go ahead and first I'm going to try splashing them with some water, see if they work. And the next thing I'm going to go ahead and test is submerging them in water, which again, I don't expect them to survive, which is why I'm doing it last. But anyways, let's go ahead and do the splash test first. Alright, so that should be pretty good, actually a bit excessive to test out sweat resistance. And if you do sweat more than that, then I am truly, truly sorry. Alright, so let's see how these did. Alright, so the good thing is that it does still say that we are connected. So let's see how they sound. Alright, so these are perfectly fine. They had no issues whatsoever. Just as expected, like I said, they are IPX4 rated, and I believe we've kind of tested the extent of that. Alright, so next up we're going to go ahead and submerge these in water. Again, I don't recommend this, even if these do survive the water test. If you guys ask me, I will still say that I don't recommend it because it's not what they're supposed to be used for. And if they do survive, then that might just mean that I'm super lucky. Alright, so I'm going to leave them in there for about an extra 5 minutes and we'll see how they do. While these are still being submerged underwater, I did want to go ahead and go over some of the controls because they are a little bit weird. Alright, to play or pause, it's a double tap. And to skip tracks, you're either going to hold the left or the right earbud for 2 seconds. The right one goes to the next track, the left one goes to the previous track. And to answer or end calls, it's a double tap on either bud. And to activate voice assistants such as Siri or Google, all you have to do is triple tap. And that's on either one. And if you do run into errors and you need to clear your pairing list, all you have to do is tap and hold them for 10 seconds. Alright guys, and once again, this is not what they're supposed to endure. So if they don't make it, that is perfectly fine. These are only supposed to be splash resistant. Well, it says I'm still connected to them, so that's a good sign. Let's see if the music is playing though. Okay, alright, so I definitely went ahead and messed up the right one. I thought it was fine for a second there, but no, the volume is definitely a lot lower. I am going to try to save these by putting them in rice. I think they should be fine because everything else seems to be working in them. It's just the sound quality is a bit lower on the right one. Alrighty guys, and actually after waiting for a little bit, the sound on the right earbud came back and it's just as good as before. And just because these survived in this test, it doesn't mean that these are water resistant. They are not, and I do not recommend you taking these in the shower or for a bath or swimming or etc. Alright guys, and right before I jump into the pros and cons, I did want to talk about the sound quality because I'm pretty sure that's what you guys are here for anyways. And the sound quality on these is really good, I'm not gonna lie. And so especially for the price point, these are $29.99. There's always some type of discount. I mean, anytime that I've looked at these, there's always some type of discount. So you're looking at about like 20 to 25 bucks. And for that price point, these sound phenomenal. The vocals are very, very clear on these. So if you're watching videos and stuff, you shouldn't have any issues. Also, there's no issues with latency. It is present, just like it is with all Bluetooth headsets, but it is bearable. The only thing that I think is a little bit lackluster is the bass, and I want to be very clear about this. The bass is not terrible. I think it is very decent and pretty adequate, especially for the price point. It's just not as deep as some of the more expensive headsets out there, so just keep that in mind. Alright guys, and the other thing I think a lot of people look at whenever it comes to Bluetooth headsets is the microphone quality, especially now because so many people are using them for conference calls. And so I had that clip up earlier of the microphone test, and that should be a good gauge of what you can expect whenever you're on a video call or just a regular phone call. And honestly, going off of that clip, I think that these are actually pretty decent, especially on the Android side, because the microphone quality on a lot of these cheaper headsets tends to just be abysmal, but these actually did really, really well. Alright guys, now we're going to go ahead and move on to the pros and cons section, starting off with the pros. And the very first pro is that these are priced right. The MSRP on these is $29.99, and typically there is a discount on top of that, so more realistically you should expect to spend about 20 to 25 bucks. And at that price, these provide a great value. And for the second pro, the sound on these is really great, especially for their price. And for the third pro, the microphone quality is really decent. It's not going to be as good as the Galaxy Buds or the Airpods, but it'll get the job done. And for the fourth pro, the touch controls on these are pretty responsive. They are a bit weird and take some time getting used to, but they work really well. And the fifth pro for these is that with the case you get 35 hours of playback time, which is really good, especially considering the size of the case. And again, here it is with the Galaxy Buds Plus case, just so you can get an idea. It is a little bit bulkier, but the battery life definitely makes up for it. Alright, and for the 6 Pro, I want to talk about the form factor, which I think is actually very nice. It does look a little bit like the AirPods. And here they are side by side, just so you guys can get a better idea. The Aukeys are definitely bigger in almost every aspect of these, and especially the stem is pretty thick. And despite the size difference, these are actually still pretty light, and they're comfortable to wear. And actually the ear tips on the Aukeys make them a little bit more secure for workouts than the AirPods. And they also provide decent noise isolation as well. Okay, so the seventh and final pro that I have for these is that you can use either one of these by themselves, which might not sound like that big of a deal, but it is something that's typically missing on a lot of the cheaper earbuds out there. And actually, I even tested out the Aukey T10s, which were priced at the same price as Galaxy Buds. And even on those, you could only, I believe it was the right one on that one that you could use by itself. But fortunately for these, it doesn't really matter. You can either use the right one or the left one. It doesn't have any restrictions of that kind. And I'm really happy to see that Aukey fixed that on these. Alright guys, now we're going to go ahead and talk about the cons. And I think that they're minor for the most part, nothing like major. Alright, so for my first con for these is that it still uses a micro USB charging port. And most people now, especially in 2021, have moved on to USB Type-C. However, that is something I'm willing to let slide for the grading, especially because the price point is so low on these. Alright, and the second con for this is that it does not have wireless charging. Again, not that big of a deal, especially given the price point. However, I do think that's something you should know before you buy. Okay, so my third and final con for this is that the charging indicator system on here sucks. Basically, you get 2 green dots that pop up on this case whenever it's charging, and whenever it's done charging, they turn off. However, the rest of the time, those indicators do not pop up, so you don't know how much of a charge your case actually has. So for example, like you can see with the AirPods, whenever you open it, that light tells you how much of a charge your case has. And it does the same thing on the Galaxy Buds as well. But for these, you will never know how much of a charge you have until you go ahead and plug it in. And it's definitely an oversight, and hopefully they fix that on future versions of this. But that's actually it for the cons. Not too terrible. Definitely something I think a lot of people can live with, especially at the price point of 30 bucks. Alright, so that brings us to our grading, and I don't think that this is a surprise to anybody because these just get so much right. The final grade for these is an A. I'm pleasantly surprised with these, especially because I didn't have a great experience with Aukey's higher end T10, and those were great too, but the biggest problem was the price. And here in the US, those were almost the same price as the Galaxy Buds, while still lacking a lot of the features. But this time around, I'm so glad that that is not the case. The price of these is ridiculously low, and the amount of value that they provide is insane. I mean, I don't think you could find better buds at this price point, especially whenever you consider the sound and mic quality that these have. And sure, there are a couple of cons, but I really don't think too many people would complain about those. But anyways guys, I think we went ahead and covered everything about these earbuds in this video. If I forgot something or if you guys got any questions, you can always leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to answer it. And if you guys enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please consider dropping a like and also consider subscribing for more tech content like this, and I'll see you guys next time.